With that said, hello and welcome to tonight's webinar, Women in Emergencies, held jointly with the Australasian Women and Emergency Network and Taskforce Kiwi. This is the second of 5 voluntary organization sessions that we've been doing. I just wanted to take a minute and thank everybody for coming out tonight and joining us. Just a quick note, if you didn't see the little thing pop up on your screen a second ago, that we are recording. We'll send a link out probably tomorrow morning along with a survey about tonight's session. And since we have quite a lot on and I've waited a couple minutes to get started, I think we're just going to open with a karakia and jump into the evening. Kia ora. Te hui, whaia te mataranga kia marama. Kia whai, take nā mahi katoa. Tua mai, tua kaha, aroha ato, aroha mai, tato kia tato katoa. For this gathering, seek knowledge and understanding, have purpose in all that you do, stand tall, stand strong, and let us show respect for each other. Awesome. So just a little bit of kind of structure and admin before we get started. If you've joined one of the other sessions in June or 2 weeks ago, this will probably look a little familiar. Just going to start with some intros about Taskforce Kiwi and our speakers themselves. Then we're going to open it up for kind of a discussion for the speakers to dive deeper into some of their experiences and answer some kind of set questions. And then we're going to spend the majority of the evening in kind of an open Q&A type session to really engage with those guys. And then just a little bit of housekeeping before we continue on. This recording, like I said, will be made available online. If you registered on Humanitics, you'll get a link automatically, or you can go to Oz YouTube channel. You also don't have to wait until the end. If you have any fiery burning questions for Taskforce Kiwi in general, or for one of the women in particular, please feel free to jump into the chat and type it out, and that'll get the ladies some time to kind of think about it in advance, or they might even be able to answer it while another person's talking. And feel free to specify it to that one person or the whole kind of panel. So, a little bit about tonight. So we have 5 volunteers here tonight. We have Tess from Auckland. She's the National Communications Manager and a volunteer. We have Katie from Marlborough, who's the National Capabilities Manager and also a volunteer. We have Maddie from Auckland, also a volunteer. You can't tell, a little bit of a theme here. As well as Ash, who's part of the intelligence team and a volunteer, and Gina from down south, who's the South Island logistics manager and volunteer. So I'm just going to start off by introducing Tess real quickly. So Tess is based in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, apologies, and has been involved in Taskforce Kiwi since January 2023. Along with her role as the comms manager, Tess also participates in operational deployments with the organization when time allows. And of course, you're going to hear a little bit more about this later in the presentation. First up, before Tess talks a little bit about herself and her experiences, she's going to talk you through some of the history and capabilities of Taskforce Kiwi, and then pass it on to the rest of the team. So over to you, Tess.
Kia ora. Tēnā koutou e hoa mā. E te kaikarakia Amy tēnā koe. E mihi ana kia koutou kua tae mai ki te totoko e te kaupapa. No Australia o Kutupuna, no Hobart aho, ke te nohi o te Tamaki Makaurau, kei Taskforce Kiwi aho I mahi ana. He National Communications Manager taku tūranga mahi, ko Tessa nguri tōpū ingoa. So firstly, I would like to share my thanks to Australasian Women in Emergencies Network for facilitating this session, and to our host Amy for opening the karakia. I would also like to acknowledge everyone who has joined us tonight, whether that is to learn or to support our wonderful women volunteers from Taskforce Kiwi. My name is Tess Langworthy and I'm the National Communications Manager for TFK. Tonight I have the pleasure of sharing with you the story of Taskforce Kiwi, before myself and my colleagues Katie, Maddie, Ash and Gina will dive into how we became disaster relief volunteers and what our experience has been so far. So without further ado, I am going to open with our mission statement that you can see there on the screen. So Taskforce Kiwi is a nationwide veteran-led disaster relief charity, bridging the gaps in disaster response and recovery. So what does that actually mean? What it means to bridge the gap is that we work with local entities and other humanitarian agencies to provide disaster relief beyond what that entity may be able to provide on its own. While we can and do mobilise before and during emergencies at the request of local entities, it is often shortly after the immediate emergency response that our impact is most widely observed. And our work can happen even a year or more after a disaster event, depending on the needs of a community. But what is it that we do? So in the next slide, you will see that our work is 100% voluntary, and the type of disaster recovery capabilities that we undertake include aid logistics and delivery, incident management and support, debris clearance and disposal, plant operations, emergency construction and repair, impact and damage assessment, including aerial assessments, first aid and psychological first aid, and the list goes on. And in just 2 years of being operational, our volunteers have deployed domestically and internationally 12 times, racking up over 11,500 hours of hard mahi and saving communities at least $715,000 in recovery costs, although it is likely that this figure is much higher. But in the next slide, I want to show you who the volunteers are that are actually putting in this mahi. So contrary to what it says on the screen in front of you, in just the 2 short days since I sent Amy these slides, we have been very lucky to welcome another 4 volunteers to Taskforce Kiwi, taking our national volunteer base to 592. So of those 592, 79% are former or current Defence or Emergency Services personnel, 21% are skilled members of the wider community, and we are very proud to say that of the almost 600 volunteers at TFK, 30% of us are women. As you can see by the map on the right-hand side, we have a pretty decent spread of volunteers across the Motu, with the majority based in Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch, but we're continuing to grow throughout. So in the next slide, you will have seen in one of the earlier slides that we've deployed to 6 countries so far. And that is from providing vital aid like food, water and blankets to earthquake-hit communities, to undertaking damage impact assessments following tropical cyclones. And of those 12 deployments so far, we've had 3 in Australia, 1 in Morocco, 1 in Vanuatu, 1 in the USA, 1 in Canada and 4 in New Zealand. Looking after our communities in Aotearoa is our #1 priority, but we are incredibly fortunate that we get to the opportunity to deploy overseas with our international partners like Disaster Relief Australia, React UK, Red Lightning and Team Rubicon USA and Canada. And there are 2 key reasons that we actually do this. The first is that it fosters strong collaborative relationships with our international partners and ensures we all have the resources we need to help our respective communities. And it's also to keep our volunteers' skills and experiences fresh, so that if or when disaster strikes here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, we have a large pool of volunteers who are trained and ready to deploy to help our own at very, very short notice. But that is the end of the very quick spiel about Taskforce Kiwi. I usually take much, much longer to talk about it, and it is time to hear about our volunteers. But you are not rid of me yet, as you can see on the screen, because I'm the first cab off the rank. So you might have heard in my pepeha at the very beginning that I mentioned Australia. I am a very proudly born and bred Tasmanian, but have called Tamaki Makaurau Auckland home for 9 years now. And in fact, I officially became a New Zealand citizen just a couple of months ago, which I'm really proud of. My background is in diplomatic events and project management for local government. And for the past 2 years, my key focus has been in protecting and enhancing Tamaki Makaurau's natural environment. So you can see there is a bit of synergy between natural environment, infrastructure and disaster relief. I am also an undergrad studying a Bachelor of Arts, majoring in politics and international relations. And as you know already, I manage all of the external communications for Taskforce Kiwi, which ranges from our social media through to the articles that you actually read in the news about TFK. So I am an Auckland Emergency Management volunteer of 5 years through my work. And I first learned about Taskforce Kiwi while I was volunteering as a site manager at an AEM Civil Defence Centre in my very own neighbourhood in early 2023. Auckland had just been hit with a 1 in 100 year rainfall event, that had caused widespread damage to homes and infrastructure, and tragically 4 lives had been lost in that time as well. For so many other families, however, homes, cars, property had been lost or damaged in the floods. And while Auckland Emergency Management did and continues to do a great job providing immediate or long-term support to impacted communities, it was clear that there was a gap for those families that needed help clearing out their homes of debris and flood-damaged belongings so they could figure out what their options were. And it was clear to me, because I was hearing firsthand what our families at the centre had gone through and what they still needed to get through before they could return home. I saw the tears. I made countless cups of tea, and I hugged so many people who just needed to know that they weren't alone in this situation. And because of this, I was absolutely desperate to do more for my community. And it was serendipity that I actually heard about Taskforce Kiwi, and immediately signed up and was on my first deployment helping clear the houses and properties for the same people that I'd supported in the centre. So to me, it was just ripping out sodden carpet or cupboards, or shoveling the mud and debris off their driveway. But you could see that it had taken a huge weight off their shoulders, because they finally had the time and the clear space to sit down and think through their next steps. And they were now hugging me out of relief and not despair. So while I initially thought that was going to be a one-off experience to help get my own community back on track, ever since then, I've actually done my absolute best to inject myself wherever I can in the organisation, wherever I fit. In fact, just 2 weeks after Auckland, I deployed to Hawke's Bay for after Cyclone Gabrielle, and earlier this year I deployed to Vanuatu following Tropical Cyclone Lola. I do give a lot to Taskforce Kiwi, but hand on my heart, I can say that I do get back from my involvement tenfold. It's all to do with the people. It's the people that you work alongside, and it's the people that you support. And as you can hear, I'm absolutely passionate about what I do. I love what I do, and I could talk about it all day, but that's enough for me. I think I will pass on to Katie.
Thanks, Tess. That was fantastic. Hi, for those of you that haven't met before, my name's Katie Seabrook. I'm one of the 12 Marlborough Region Taskforce Kiwi volunteers. I joined TFK in 2022. I'm an ex-member of the Royal Australian Army Medical Corps, and for those of you that haven't already guessed by the accent, I'm also originally from Australia. My current profession is a registered nurse. For the last 15 years or so, I've been working overseas as a contractor in support of various declared emergencies or in a medical management role in major sporting events or entertainment events. My emergency management journey started with our disaster relief counterpart organisation in Australia. When I made the move to New Zealand, I joined St John Ambulance and in a frontline capacity, so on road in the ambulances. I originally volunteered with the emergency organisations because I wanted to connect with like-minded people in my community and with a few of my military friends who had left the military. It quickly became apparent that it wasn't just volunteering to help out during emergencies. It was that I enjoyed making a difference to people's lives when they were really in a bad place. In my volunteer capacity, I've been fortunate enough to deploy to the Philippines, Hawke's Bay and Vanuatu. All my deployments have been enlightening experiences, but the deployment that stands out, I think, the most would be the trip to the Philippines. On reflection, I think it's because the opportunity to work with communities in the readiness phase of emergency management rather than the response phase. I'd like to think that we're helping prevent some of the suffering that we witness when we are responding to these emergencies. With this particular deployment, we worked in conjunction with the Philippines Office of Civil Defence to facilitate a rapid damage assessment and needs analysis train the trainer course. So the training was aimed at key people in remote communities, regardless of profession. So we were looking at nurses, teachers, accountants, government officials, really anyone that would be in a position to train others to carry out the assessments. And then during the emergency situations, ensure that the essential data that was collected was communicated to the right government agencies to ensure that the communities get the right support at the right time, at the right place. My job with TFK is in a capability development area. I've got a real passion for realistic training and for developing people. So my current project is designing a responders training course in order to provide our members with the skills, knowledge and confidence to deploy on request to international emergencies. I'm extremely thankful for the opportunities Taskforce Kiwi has given me to support people in need, both domestic and internationally. And I really enjoy working with the incredibly talented people we have at Taskforce Kiwi. They've just, the experiences that they have is just second to none. So if you want to join us and support us, follow us on social media or get in touch with our membership team. So I think my time's up now. So I'll hand you over to Maddie so she can share some of her TFK experiences with you.
Awesome, thank you, Katie. Kia ora koutou katoa, ko maunga keke te maunga, ko waitemata te moana, ko mahuhu ki te rangi te waka, ko Ngāti Whātua te iwi, ko Orake te marae, no Taskforce Kiwi aho, ko Meti tōku ingoa. Hello everyone, I'm Maddie and I'm really grateful to be here and to be representing Taskforce Kiwi. I'm based in Auckland and in this volunteer sector and referred to as a civilian with no prior defence or forces practice. My background actually lies in the sport and events industries. I've volunteered and work alongside a number of our national sporting and event organisations. I'm very privileged to meet and work with all sorts, both industry leaders and performers alike. And it's all about people and experiences, and I'm very blessed in my work. That being said, whilst working in event in Auckland is exactly where my Taskforce Kiwi journey began. There was a little pop-up activation with some beautiful souls advocating TFK in their cause. Before I knew it, friendly smiles and caring hearts drew me in, and there I was signing up to become a volunteer. I've been a member since November 2023 now, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds for us as an organisation. So I actually joined Taskforce Kiwi because I love their purpose and service. Everything the organisation is about resonates deeply with me. And being able to utilise and transfer my skill set and share my experiences to help wherever I can is rewarding in itself. Knowing that I'm serving and contributing to our communities and people is truly humbling and an absolute privilege. I'm also a big believer in giving back and paying it forward. And I believe that the TFK organisation is not only a reflection of this, but a leader in these operations and culture, even as young as we are. And also exactly the reason why I'm here and join this team. So earlier this year, I had the privilege of representing TFK to assist Disaster Relief Australia with the storm recovery in Queensland for Operation Centaur. This being my first deployment and new to emergency management work, I knew I'd have lots to learn. I certainly soaked up as much information as possible and learned about how operations are led and carried out. I assisted on the ground, helping to clean and clear debris from fallen trees to broken buildings. I was given the opportunity to work alongside all the team in the background too, and assisted with the planning, delivery components, and assessments for the overall operation. A highlight was also meeting people and families that were affected by this event. Just hearing their stories and spending time with them was pretty unbelievable, to say the least. However, the learnings I gained was so insightful and inspiring, and the added bonus of making lots of new friends made this an incredible experience. Fast forward to June, and my next deployment was much closer to home for Operation Wairoa Hopupu. As soon as this operation was made known, I was in. The fact that this region was hit by floods again highlighted the urgent need for help, and I wanted to assist this time wherever I could. I got the opportunity to meet and work alongside new TFK workmates in the Wairoa community. We helped to clean and clear properties of debris, did aid coordination and delivery, welfare checks, and so forth. We basically wanted to do anything and everything we could to assist those in need. Wairoa tugged on our heartstrings as we were helping our own people, and for some of our TFK crew, their friends and families. This operation was very humbling and heartbreaking at the same time. However, blessed and very thankful that we were able to help and to also represent TFK again. Just quickly in closing, if any of you are considering volunteering, I highly recommend becoming a member of Taskforce Kiwi to anyone wanting to make a difference in many lives. Trust me, it's definitely worth it. Thanks for listening. Kia ora, Ash.
Thanks, Matty. Kia ora koutou, everyone. My name's Ash, and I'm an Auckland-based volunteer for Taskforce Kiwi. My background is from the military. I joined straight out of high school, and I recently left full-time as an intelligence operator. I'm now in the Reserve Forces, working full-time as an intelligence manager at Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment. After leaving the military, I really struggled to refine my sense of purpose. I joined the military really young, so it was literally all I knew and had been such a big part of my life. The transition to the public sector was quite difficult. So finding Taskforce Kiwi really helped me reignite my passions, provide service, and help to those who need it. My job now is a 9-to-5 desk style job. So being able to get out there and do something physically rewarding is really important to me. And just being able to get stuck in here and there and help others is really awesome. So after joining TFK at the start of the year, I deployed to Vanuatu to conduct damage assessments on schools that were impacted by Cyclone Lola last year. Our specific team deployed to an island called Malakula, which is just off the coast of Port Vila. It's very remote. And my team had to travel by banana boat to attend all of the villages because there were no roads linking them together. So it's a very unique experience. My role specifically was as one of the drone operators, a skill I actually had no experience in prior and had to quickly learn essentially on the job, but it was a really cool skill to have. Our job as a team was to visit each village with a damaged school, assess the damage and report on this via a survey and also drone imagery. The trip itself was a great opportunity where you got to experience very remote, traditional Vanuatu culture and really just get to know a number of the locals who had gone through such a rough period of time with natural disaster. It was just really special to get to know them and to see their resilience. Deploying for me is about learning, taking in new perspectives, but also helping people. And I feel like Taskforce Kiwi gives you such a wide variety of options to do that, whether that's a weekend job or it's a 2-week deployment to somewhere like Vanuatu, which I think is just so cool and something you can't get anywhere else. For me now, my next steps is I'm starting the development of an intelligence capability within Taskforce Kiwi. So this will look to incorporate things such as intelligence briefs, pre-deployment briefs, country research, geospatial systems and analysis, imagery analysis. We're really just getting started, and we've just started to roll out some pre-deployment packages for our teams that are deploying overseas. So this is a very new and exciting opportunity for Taskforce Kiwi. That is me. I will hand you over to the wonderful Gina. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Ash. Kia ora, I'm Gina from Otatahi in Christchurch. My background is management. I am a reservist soldier out at Burnham with Threefield. I'm a combat engineer out there. But my main jam is I'm a fundraiser and coordinator for a surf lifesaving club, and I'm also a first aid instructor. In between that and being a solo mum of 2 boys, I'm also in an urban search and rescue team. I'm in RT14 here in Christchurch, and I'm in a surf search and rescue team as well. I don't do Landsar, that's just too much walking for my liking. I joined Taskforce Kiwi because I really like the military. I don't have a desire to join it full time. And so I liked the idea of an organisation that sort of had the best bits of the military, like camaraderie and travel and being useful, without all the other bits of it. It's a really young, flexible organisation, which is what I really liked. And being a solo mum, I get FOMO when I miss out on going to disasters with perhaps my response team. And what I like about Taskforce Kiwi is we're often in the recovery phase as well. So if I'm not available for one thing, often I can pick up and help with Taskforce Kiwi as well, which is really good. So my first deployment was over to Australia. So I've deployed to New South Wales for floods there. I got to Disaster Relief Australia is a great organisation. They're really generous with their time and their knowledge with Taskforce Kiwi, so I learned a lot over there. Nationally, I was a rotation commander for Wairoa recently. That's my first national response with Taskforce Kiwi. As Maddie said, really humbling, really amazing to feel useful. And locally, I helped post Port Hill fires, which was a short weekend stint, and I volunteered for a day. So that's what I like about this organisation. There is a flexibility there. So sometimes I can't do a whole week, so I could help out on a weekend and still make myself feel useful, which is really good. My official role is the South Island Logistics Manager for Taskforce Kiwi. I'm looking forward to sinking my teeth into that role so that we are well-stocked and efficient organisation to ready to go for any disaster that might befall us, because disasters a growth industry, I like to say. I also like to help out with the induction training, and some multi-agency liaison and training is something I'm really, really passionate about, and something that Taskforce Kiwi is getting involved in and doing really well with organisations such as this. That's all I have, and I think I throw back to Tess now. Thank you.
Kia ora, Gina. So just a very last minute plug from me. I won't do too much because Katie's already done that for me. But if you would like to learn more or follow where we're headed off to next, you are very welcome to use your phone camera to scan the QR codes on your screen, and they will take you to our respective social media accounts. Alternatively, you can head to our website, which is www.taskforcekiwi.org, where you can also learn about becoming a volunteer or supporting our work in other ways. And just in case the QR codes don't work, I will post the links in the chat very shortly. Otherwise, back to you, Amy. Kia ora.
Thanks, ladies. Really lovely to hear a little bit about each of you, as well as the organization and kind of its origins and the work that it's been doing. So we're going to move from kind of that first section into the second section, where we hear from the panel speakers. And what I'm going to do is actually stop sharing my screen right now, because we have several panels for them, and I'm going to just read it out loud as well as copy it into the chat for everyone to see. And then the ladies are just going to kind of go for it and answer these 4 questions until it's time for Q&A. So, first question is, what is it like to be in Taskforce Kiwi? Oh wait, excuse me. What motivated you to join Taskforce Kiwi, and what has kept you there?
I'll just start talking, shall I? So for me, the motivation, as I mentioned before, was community. So it was my community that was one of the most hardest hit here in Auckland, and I desperately wanted to help in any way I could. I was very lucky I wasn't affected by the floods, but I knew a lot of people that were, and so that was my motivation. what has kept me there was the fact that I could see the amazing work that the volunteers were doing. And at that time, it was a small amount of volunteers, only just over 100. And everyone pulled up their sleeves, they got stuck in, there were no complaints. Everybody is there for the exact same reason, and we're all willing to give it a crack. It doesn't matter what it is. You get the opportunity to try things, or if you don't have the skill set, you get the opportunity to train and learn from others. So it's just such a valuable organisation to be a part of. You're constantly growing as a person. We're growing as an organisation and as a volunteer base. It's so amazing to work alongside people that are just so skilled, so talented, so knowledgeable, and putting that knowledge and those skills and all of those things into helping our own communities. So just really amazing to be a part of. But that's what it is for me. Kia ora.
So same question for me. I think the reason I joined was the veteran-led side of things. It was familiar, and there was like-minded people. And what keeps me there is the potential for growth in such a new organisation. You know, they've just come in leaps and bounds for their development and their recruitment and the sustainable practices that they're putting in place so that we can support our communities. You know, yeah, just a fabulous group of people, and I look forward to the next chapter.
Katie? Anyone else want to add on, or should we?
I'll quickly add on. Girls pretty much put what I was about to say out of my mouth, so thank you, ladies. Clearly, we great minds think alike. But as I said in my in my sharing earlier, the organisation's purpose and cause, and it's just the TFK's 7 leadership culture that was motivating in itself when the team shared that with me. And as Tess said, you know, community and people, that's a massive, if not, you know, the main pull, like exactly why I joined. And you know, just that desire to help others in need, and also, you know, get to work alongside some like-minded, awesome humans. And the reason why I'm still here, albeit, you know, a few months, but yeah, and the learnings and experiences shared from the team is absolutely priceless. Just constantly learning, yeah, just absorbing anything and everything that's just shared, no matter what it is. It's yeah, it's pretty amazing, and happy to be part of the team. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thanks, Maddie. That was a really good close on that one. Jennifer, I see you raised your hand.
Kia ora all. It's been awesome to hear about you. I didn't know a lot about Taskforce Kiwi, so this has been really enlightening. It's also really incredible to hear the growth that you've experienced in quite a short period of time. And I've got one question for you, understanding how volunteer organizations work and some of the challenges that arise in that. So I guess if you've got so many members, how do you manage to keep everyone engaged and at the capability level that you expect for them to be able to respond?
Just checking to see if anyone was going to put their hand up, but I can go for that. Thanks, Jennifer, for the question. So it's probably twofold as far as the engagement goes. A lot of that is my role. So we have a regular newsletter that goes out to our volunteers that keeps everyone up to date with what is happening throughout the organisation, from whether it's new partners that we bring on to what people are doing, from weekend operations to deployments across the world. We try to keep everyone in the loop and across what is happening on a daily basis. As far as how we keep everyone engaged from an upskilling perspective, so and this might also talk to Vicky Wills's question a little bit as well. So we do offer a range of accreditation opportunities as well, and training opportunities through Taskforce Kiwi, whether it's through TFK specifically or through partner organisations. We do things like chainsaw accreditation to be able to undertake debris clearance. We also undertake first aid training, and we do have a pilot first aid training in disaster currently underway and delivering that at the moment, and also four-wheel drive training. So there are a lot of opportunities for our volunteers to upskill and stay engaged in between deployments, but it's also a great way for them to stay engaged with each other and stay in touch. But we have found as well is that a lot of our volunteers will stay in touch regardless. Once you deploy, you become like a family because you're stuck with each other for 1 to 2 weeks. So you get really, really close really, really quickly, and you all want to stay in touch with each other. And it's not just with TFK volunteers, it's also with the volunteers that we meet through our international partnerships as well. So Disaster Relief Australia, React UK, Team Rubicon Canada are all a few that come to mind as volunteers from there that we've stayed in touch with. So there's a lot of different opportunities that we have to stay engaged through Taskforce Kiwi. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Jennifer, for the question, and Tess for the great answer around that. I'm going to give you guys an option. We can continue with the next 3 questions for kind of that speaker panel, or I'm happy to open it up. We have a couple questions in the chat, so kind of up to you, Taskforce Kiwi ladies, what you'd like to do.
If there are questions in the chat, then I'm absolutely happy for us to keep cracking on with those. Give the people what they want.
I love it. Let's shake it up on a Thursday night. So Vicky, your question about NZRTs having to be accredited and Taskforce Kiwi, are you happy with kind of the answer from Tess, or do you want to hear from any more of the ladies?
So the organisation, how did it get recognised? How does it get recognised internationally to be deployed, and how does it get recognised nationally to be deployed? Because NZRTs, obviously, we have to go through channels to get them to deploy. So, and I'm an emergency management officer, so I'd like to know how to engage with you to get deployed, basically. Or how did you?
I'm happy to start to answer that one because I'm in a response team. So we are similar, but we certainly don't claim to be the same. What we want is people to come to the table with the skill set that they have, and we do want proof of that. So NZQA qualifications are our saving grace. So that is, if you say you can use a chainsaw, using it at your uncle's farm isn't the same as going and getting accredited. We want you to be accredited. So it is very much Michelle's job. When people say I can do this, that, and the other thing, you need to be able to prove that you can do this, that, and the other thing. It's up to you to remain current. So if you fall out of date with your first aid, that's on you. However, I don't want to say we're not in the same response phase, but we're like a Venn diagram. Like there's going to be some overlap, especially in skill sets and times that we might be there, but we're not going to be rope responders or something like that. For instance, when there's already a skill set, there's already like laws about who, like FENS responds to that and police respond to that and things like that. So we don't want to tread on anybody's toes. We want to be complementary. So we're all police vetted. I like to call us professional volunteers. And, we try and weed out anybody that's not there for the right reason. And we like to be complementary. So it's up to the home location of what level of response they need. So I think for Wairau, it was the City Council that called for us. We're happy to volunteer our services, you might like to say, but we don't want to step on any toes, and we will always be there with the local authorities and other agencies' knowledge. We're not just going to rock up. We don't self-deploy. It's not just me going, oh, I've got a really useful skill set, I'm just going to put this T-shirt on and rock up. So there's a process because we want to remain friends with people. We want to be useful. We do have certain skill sets, but we're not trying to replace anybody. A lot of what we do is the It's the not pretty, not glamorous stuff of like stripping out houses and wearing the full PPE, and so we're well kitted for what we do, but it's often to help people once that initial wave has gone and they're left and they don't know what way is up. They don't know who to call for help, and that's sort of, we're a bit like Batman, along we come and do that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, it can be hours and hours of water blasting and things like that, but that's what we're there for. So we know that we're not the heroes, we're not in blue or whatever. So yeah, it's a happy medium at the moment. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We're a small, flexible organisation, so it'll be interesting to see how it grows when we get bigger, but at the moment it's working quite well.
Cool, thank you.
Probably add just a touch to that question as well, Vicky. Because we largely work in the recovery phase, and we do, as Jean had said, we leverage off the skills that people bring to the organisation. That being veteran-led, a lot of us have done courses for leadership courses and things like that. So we do work in small task groups when we go out to do the recovery efforts. So we do a bit of OJT, or on the job training, to develop those skills further and identify needs, which obviously goes back to our training people to go, okay, well, let's put this course in, let's do the forward driving, things like that. So it's really the skills that, like Gina with her volunteering in other areas, our FENS volunteers and things like that, St. John Ambulance, it's the interoperability that we have, and we never go anywhere without an invitation to go, be that domestic or international. So, and we always go with partner organisations. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Gina and Kate. We have had a number of further questions in the chat, so I think maybe moving on to Hannah's question about if you're deployed, what's the one thing you absolutely have to take with you?
I can give my answer for this. So for me, any deployment I've ever been on, a priority for me is just always having like a face wipe or like baby wipes in my carry-on, no matter where I go, and chewing gum, because no one likes gross breath. And even if you're dirty and haven't showered for a few days, if you've got something to chew that's minty, life is just better. So those are my two things that I always have on me.
Okay, I can add to this one, but it's a little bit fluffy. I find that you can actually live on very, very little when you need to. So I just take something that reminds me of home, or from a mental capacity can keep me sane, because a lot of the stuff that I've done is not nice, especially when you're seeing that, the bad side of disaster. So like I've got a little teddy bear that goes everywhere with me, and that's just something from a mental health perspective that I take with me to, remind me of home, because my baby niece gave it to me to keep me safe while I was overseas. So it that's what I take with me, because I can live without anything really.
Oh, awesome. My turn, I'll jump in here. Whilst I 1,000 million agree with Ash and Katie's take-alongs, for me, since joining, somewhat, I don't know what you would call it, but must takes is an open mind and an open heart for me. We don't know what we're stepping into, the lives we're entering, just where their minds, their heart. So no matter where I've been so far, just always tiny reminder for myself on those two main things. Clear my mind, be open to whatever they want to share or give or not. Whilst also, having an open heart to just, just feel for them. Because something, you might get on a site and that's trash, and you go to chuck it away. But little do we know that has like massive meaning to the families or to the people, and that would just like another thing that would potentially rock their world, and not in a good way. So you have to think of those little things whilst about. But yeah, that's me and mine. Thank you.
That is so nice, Maddie, and it's so true. You absolutely don't know what you're walking into, and it's very often that you come across items that are so meaningful that are taonga to someone. So yeah, absolutely, I talk with that completely. I was going to say I also support Gina's comment around the earplugs. There is a bit of a saying that goes through TFK around the snorkestra that you often encounter when you're on deployment. And I will admit that I'm probably one of the choir members in that regard, so it's definitely worth taking a good set of earplugs. But for me personally, I actually always take a really strong zinc sunscreen with me on deployment as a purely selfish thing. And that's because I am pasty. I am the worst when it comes to Australians. I do not have that tan. And especially when we're going to Vanuatu, you really do need to take something really strong because you're out in the sun a lot and you're doing the hard mahi out in the sun. So a good sunscreen is what I would say to always take with me. Kia ora.
I love it. Thank you. Quite a wide variety and quite a heartfelt answer as well, Maddie. I really appreciate it. We've got a couple more in the chat, or if anybody wanted to jump in before I go to the next written one with any verbal questions. Silence is golden. Okay, I'll go to the next written one about volunteers and if they have to have a fitness assessment or physical criteria in order to be accepted.
I will. You're right, Jess? Okay. It is Taskforce Kiwi is really good and open about asking every time that they want input from you. Where are you at? What are your limitations? It's up to you to be honest with that. So I had hip surgery last year. I wasn't going to stick my hand up for a flight to Canada. Like, that's just irresponsible. So it's all sorts of physical levels. There's nearly always a job for everybody. So it could be behind the scenes. I've had 12, 13 surgeries and I still find a way to hobble along and do things. So there's nearly always something for you to do. Yeah, it's just about being honest about where you're at with things so that we don't put you in any danger and you don't put yourself in any danger. So that's super important. Tess might like to elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, actually, I did just want to add that it's not just on deployment that we need volunteers for. There are so many roles back of house as well that you actually don't need an amazing level of fitness to complete. Like I'm doing the comms role, so social media doesn't require you to be able to run laps of field. So there are a whole bunch of different tasks that you can do and a whole bunch of different jobs you can do, both on deployment and back of house. And the more hands we have, the absolute better as far as the organisation goes, because we are still young and we are still growing. And everyone has a whole bunch of different skill sets that all complement each other. And by having all of those different skill sets, we can only do better and better. So please don't let the idea of fitness deter you. While there will be deployments that require a certain level of fitness, there are others that will not require that much. So you only know until you sort of put your hand out there to find out. Katie, did you want to add something?
Oh, just add around like the risk analysis that we will undertake prior to the deployments. So we check for what kind of tasking we expect to see, whether if it's overseas, things like that. So we're pretty open about what to expect, and then vetting. We do have medical people involved in the organisation that you get these curveballs thrown at you and you go, okay, well, let's have a discussion about this. So we are very careful about who we send and what we do. But as Tess said, there is place and a position for everybody. And, you know, varying levels of fitness is always accepted. And we won't ask you to do more than you're capable of. So.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. Maybe on to another one, which I'm actually going to piggyback off because I'm quite interested in hearing the answer to this. But Hannah's asked another good one about how the organization secures funding to maintain capabilities and undertaking deployments.
That is a very, very good question. And it's probably, I think, twofold. So in one capacity, we do have a number of amazing sponsors and partners that we work with that do partially fund some of the work that we do, whether it's training, whether it is deployments or otherwise, or it could be particular functions within the organisation. And we also receive grant funding in some cases as well to support particular projects. But there are also amazing sponsors who for example, Airlink, who is one of our international humanitarian partners, and they actually coordinate, so logistic coordination and the funding of flights for us to deploy internationally. They are an absolute godsend as far as TFK is involved. Without them, we may not be able to be as far reaching in our work as what we are. So they have been an absolutely fabulous partner to have. And we do also receive donations in kind as well. So another amazing, or two amazing sponsors that we have, one is Mitsubishi, who provide the vehicles that we use domestically, and another is Mitre 10, who often donate equipment that we actually use on our domestic deployments as well. So there's a few different avenues that we take, and they all support in different ways, but really, really helpful to keep us on board. And we do also have just a public fund that people can donate to as well, which is on our website in case anyone's wanting to find out more. Thank you.
Fantastic. Probably have time for maybe one more question. If anybody online wants to jump in verbally with a question, or happy to go to the next written one. Okay. So Claire has asked how you all manage commitment to volunteering with so many different agencies and organizations. I think, Gina, you got a specific call out for your background.
Poorly. No, you will always miss out on something. So there's FOMO, the fear of missing out. There's also the joy of missing out. I cut a lot of extra from my life. I have no TV, no streaming. I couldn't tell you a popular pop song from the past 10 years. I have no idea. Very little cultural reference whatsoever. My hobbies and the way I catch up with friends are these activities. So, you know, my RT training, I can't do every Tuesday because of children. I do as much as I can, but they're my friends as well. So it's friends, it's networking, it's upskilling, it's all of those things. So for me and for the others as well, I'm sure every agency or group that you're involved in has to be aware of everything else. So, you know, there's a bit of give and take there for me, but pen and paper, a really good diary, and just realizing that you will miss out occasionally. I would have loved to have gone to Hawaii recently, but there will be another disaster somewhere nice and warm at some point. So I just have to realize that there'll be a time and a place for that sort of thing. So a lot of juggling, but just getting rid of a whole lot of extra stuff in life that most other people do that I just don't.
Yeah, I can add on to that. So I don't have children. I do have a fur child who takes up a lot of my time and energy. But for me, one thing I have learned is that, especially amongst the women that are here, we probably overcommit in a lot of capacities in a lot of areas of our life. So I guess on one hand, it's great to be so involved, but I guess if you are someone that's very driven and proactive, it's also just being mindful of what you are committing to. I think is something that I've been trying to work on, not saying yes to absolutely everything, because yeah, like Gina said, you start missing out on the most important things. So I think for me, it's all about what are my priorities? in my life that I want to focus my energy on, and then I try and base my weeks and my months around what's most important to me and sort of my family. That's, I guess, how I approach it. And also some words of wisdom from someone that is always doing too many things all at once.
Very fair and good words, Ash. Thank you. I am going to just really quickly share the presentation back with everyone again, just keeping an eye on kind of time and recognizing that we're pretty close to 8 o'clock over here in New Zealand, at least for those of us in Australia or Hawaii. The timing's probably a wee bit different for you there. But just a reminder that, again, this is the second of 5 of these kind of follow-up volunteer organization sessions. So in a fortnight, we're going to have a session from the New Zealand Red Cross, followed by Fire and Emergency New Zealand, and then Land Search and Rescue is rescheduled to the last one. And before I jump to closing care Kia, I just wanted to extend a huge kind of thank you to the 5 of you ladies, as well as Michelle, for helping to facilitate this and for allowing us to get tonight organized. And for everybody who's online tonight, thank you for jumping in and attending. I'm going to send a quick survey out to you. I'll drop it in the chat here, as well as in the link to this recording. You'll get that as well. So if you can let us know your thoughts, what you liked, didn't, how we can make it better, be really fantastic. And if there's any fiery burning questions, I think there's some emails for Taskforce Kiwi on the last page. Jen?
Can I do one other thing? So AWE does recognition awards on a yearly basis, and this year we're doing it again. And today we've met a lot of pretty fabulous women volunteering in the emergency management and disaster resilience sector. So I encourage you guys to have a look at the AWE awards and nominate yourself, nominate your colleagues, nominate someone you think is doing something special in the emergency management and disaster resilience space. Nominations close on the 26th of August, so you've got a few days to pull something together. But it's really important that we recognize each other and recognize our own contributions in this sector, and that we as women stand up and make a difference and be heard.
Excellent point. Thank you so much, John. Really appreciate it. So with that, I will just move us to our closing karakia for the evening. So, mi mahi tahi tatou mo te oranga o te katoa. Humie huie tae kie. We must work together for the well-being of all. Join all together, bind all together. Let it be done. So, thank you guys for coming along today. Much appreciated. And feel free to shout out. And Jen's dropped that link to the All Day Awards in the chat. So.
Thanks, Amy.
You
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.